early on. It worked okay game 1, game 2 wasn't quite as strong, and game 3 they played much more of a mid-game spiking team. If you guys want to get involved, make sure you tweet at us at LOL eSports. If you think Fnatic are going to secure their spot in the EUCS promotion tournament, it's hashtag FNA win. If you think Paris Saint-Germain are going to take us all the way to Silver Scrapes in a game 5, hashtag PSG win. It's going to be a tight one. You can sense it. In all honesty, Vedius, I think we're going to have an early game that's relatively slow. I think we're going to have quite a lot of time to talk about whatever tangents you decide you want to talk about today.
Great, I can't wait. But I think it's still really worth emphasizing that winner goes on to the promotion tournament. Loser goes home.
They're out.
They are done. And we kick things off with a pause.
Yeah,
very brief pause.
I'm sure we'll get it sorted out. But I think, yeah, I don't think you can emphasize that enough, because an entire split has built up to this for both of these teams. Paris Saint-Germain, incredibly hyped starting off. We all remember the video they put, he reached the front page of Reddit that was all about, these players and so the Twisted Fate characterization and lots of excitement around them as a roster. Really didn't live up to it early on. However, since that week 4, since bringing White Knight in, they were undefeated in series. They are still undefeated in series, assuming that they can continue on in this one. Went on a 6-game winning spree. And now we have to see if they have that mental strength, if they have the capacity to bounce back inside a series from a loss.
Well, no better time to do it than now. When
it's the only time to do it.
It's very true. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, jumping back into the game. Blanc had a very brief crash, which has now been resolved. So this is it, game 4, Fnatic Academy versus PSG. Now, what we always do, Medic, we always like to talk about what's going to happen in the early game, where the team's going to focus, what are the important lanes to watch out for. Now, the problem we have is we have 2 tanks up in the top lane. We have 2 high-pushing, wave-clear bottom lanes, arguably slightly in favor of Fnatic Academy. And mid lane is probably the most exciting one, because you have a lot of pick potential, you have a lot of gank pressure.
Oh, once again, we see a PSG member getting caught out early on. Blanc has to flash and use the Ghost.
And Blanc is the person that you want to try and shut down. See, so Fnatic Academy already setting themselves up for success. They have the Rengar, not the strongest of early game junglers, but given that the enemy mid laner has no summoner spells, you're in a prime position now to be able to set up for an early gank and start getting Nisqy ahead, which is exactly what you want. Get an early Megatron cloak, get that magic resistance down, mitigate a lot of the early threat that a Syndra does possess, and really control this lane, because if you are PSG, it's the Syndra that you really want to get rolling in the early game.
That's the second time we've seen a PSG member in successive games get caught out by that pincer movement from Fnatic, and I have to give credit to Fnatic being able to set it up both times. First time was onto Kairi, second time onto Blanc. Blanc burning both of his summoner spells makes him very weak in lane. Low mobility already on that Syndra. Now going to be even lower, of course, without that flash. And Amazing does have the opportunity to try and get in for the gank. The empowered bowler will get the stun. Nisqy can put down the gravity well if he hits that level 2. Just lock down that Syndra for a long, long time. However, the question remains whether Amazing can do that. We know he spends a lot more time up towards the top side of the maps and towards the bot side of the map. Nisqy tends to be the lane that he leaves a lot of the time, and Kairi will have to understand
able to get the knockup, but with no flash, there's no guarantee that the stun would have landed. Niski also has the barrier. Interesting that he's gone that over the heel. Does he get? Oh, cooldowns. And then he gets himself a blue buff. So what should have been a 1-for-1 trade. To then get the gravity field, you just chuck all your damage down, and as long as Amazing is still having a good start, Blank is someone that, that always has to be careful, right? He always has to be very aware of this possible collapse. So PSG don't really gain very much from that. You end up just overall being a trade of kills, and Fnatic, they still hold on to a gold lead. But look at Kyrie coming in for a gank top.
Gonna try and get onto Kikis. He has got the flash available. Kyrie's looking for the knock up here. Kikis taunts away, but the hook lands, and now he's being knocked up. Kyrie and White Knight will be able to just chase him out. Kyrie takes the kill. Amazing's here in time, but Perhaps doesn't want to trade in, has no flash. Amazing once again overstays. Clyde joins the fray, uses the exhaust. He's going to get knocked up. Mr. Rales is here. Blank looking for the flank, flashes in, gets the sphere down and takes the kill. Hook doesn't land onto Clyde, but all you have to do is press R as Blank takes his 5th kill of this game.
PSG are on a storm right now. 3 very quick kills for none. Fnatic Academy, they tried to make the map movement top. They know that Shen is pushing in. They know there's a big minion wave there, and they want to try and take advantage of that, get themselves that first tower of the game. Instead, Kikis ends up getting collapsed upon with a really good gank from Kirei. You have Amazing coming in to try and save him, but he has no flash. He doesn't realize that Kirei's gone for a first item Tiamat, which means that he wins out on all these early duels. And then PSG just keep chasing. They're just constantly punishing Fnatic Academy as they always try to save their other teammates. And now they're sitting at 6 kills to 2, a 2,000 gold lead 10 minutes into the game. PSG are just on a storm.
This is just, like, Kikis, it gets caught out. He did still have flash for the majority of this, but that's such a hard wall to flash. The hook landing really spelled his doom, and you have to wonder what Amazing is doing here.
Yeah, I mean, look at the positioning of Victor right now. It's impossible for him to roam up to the top half of the map. Clyde is great at providing peel here, and Fnatic just have to try and disengage. But because Blanc already has priority, he's always going to get to this fight first. So you just have to question why Amazing was trying to defend his top lane. I can understand if you walked up, maybe I can save you, oh, maybe not, disengage. Instead, he just hard commits. And that was the mistake. The fact that he tried to go for the fight is what cost Fnatic so many kills.
And this is such a different look for PSG and Blanc in particular. Blanc, across the series, has been this control mage player. He's played Azir, he's played Corki, he's played Ryze, he's played these guys who just control zones in a fight. Here, he's playing an assassin, basically, on the Syndra. He is there, he is the front-up damage dealer for the team, and we were worried that he wouldn't have enough damage alongside the Ezreal. Right now, he is playing a Stormer.
Very impressed with what Blank's been able to do, especially with his solo kill down onto Niski. It is made easier by the fact that you got yourself a really early 2-0.
You have to get the kills, though.
Exactly that now. So now if you're PSG, what do you want to keep doing, right? That's the big question. Because,
killing people, man.
Yeah, I understand that. Definitely you want to kill people, but think about the number of times that you have been in this situation. You're that
I've never been ahead again.
No. All right, let's think of me then. As someone who's regularly ahead in mid lane,
oh, sure, yeah.
I have 5 kills on a Syndra. What do I do now, right? Because it's difficult, you know? You have a constantly wave-clearing Victor in the mid lane. Your top lane is getting pushed in fairly regularly by the Shen. So what you want to try and do is you want to push in mid and roam. You want to try and use this gold everywhere else on the map, because you know that you're the strongest person in the game right now and no one can contest you. So even if you find someone in the enemy jungle, they will die. Yeah. So you want to try and move around the map and say, hey guys, look, I see you guys down bottom lane, you're pretty even, let's help out. Now Kirei, watch the support that he gets from Blanc, and Amazing's like, all right, I don't want to commit onto this because there's a Syndra mid lane, I can't afford to.
All it takes is a Nether Grasp, and that gives Blanc enough time to roam across and just get the kill with the Unleashed power. He's continuing to pressure the mid lane, looking for this tower. All of PSG have grouped up here, apart from Pilot, who's left just to farm himself up on the Ezreal. It's going to be the first tower of the game to PSG, and they have a 3,000 gold lead with 2,000 of that sitting on Blank. He is 2,000 gold ahead of Niski.
So this is an even better plan than mine. Like, take mid and then roam, right? Because now you have even more freedom to roam around the map. This is going to force Niski to play even further back every time the wave gets pushed in. Look, here we go. Blanc looking now for a roam down bottom. Immediately has to disengage from Mr. Rales because he knows the possible collapse is very high. And they can just start to make their way onto this tower, make their way onto a dragon. And this is how you use a fed mid laner. You just have to, you can't be sitting in mid all day, Medic. Like, I know you sit down there in the bottom lane as support, and if I'm a 5-0 Syndra, I can't be greedy, I can't be selfish. I have to share my gold with you. And because I can't give it to you...
You tend to share your gold with the enemy team, though. That's the problem.
I mean, sometimes. Look, it happens. I lag, all right? It's tough. It's a tough life. But it's all about giving, sharing, and I like the fact that we are seeing Blanc move around the map and use this gold lead that he has.
They get a Mountain Drake, they get bot tower, and it wasn't even Blanc doing anything, really. He just walked away from mid lane. Mr. Rales caught out. Kyrie's going to knock him out. There's a kill. And even without Blanc, PSG still get another kill, and now Blanc is looking for the flank. It rhymes, so it must work. Unleashed power comes down. Klai dodging as much as he can. With the stand, United might have enough. No, he does not. Kyrie takes him out. 8-2, PSG. They're looking for the third tower. It's a tier 2.
Amazing.
Amazing jumps in. Here's the flank from Nisqy, though. He's knocked back, scattered a weak. Nisqy is incredibly weak right now. 4-man Chaos Storm just does nothing as PSG take another kill.
3 kills go in the favor of PSG as they look to take themselves an inner tower. Such confident playmaking, utilizing this humongous goal lead that they have to just continue applying pressure onto the Fnatic squad.
It's disgusting how well they are playing this early game. This is the PSG we thought we would see. Their early game has always been their strength. Their late game decision making was what they needed to work on. Amazing has to flash away from Kyrie, who hasn't even based yet. Kyrie sitting on a 3rd HP, and Amazing knows he can't take the fight.
So let's have a look at how this play happens. Again, look at the vision control that PSG have. They started pushing up mid lane. Raleigh tries to make a play happen, but even though the numbers advantage is going in favor of PSG, Klai at this point, he's level 6 to a level 10 Blanc. Surprised that the ultimate alone didn't kill Klai. Clearly, he's using some kind of device to counter Syndra.
Magic resist runes.
Maybe. Never heard of them. Regardless, this is where Amazing and Nisqy think, hey, if I can just land a big Chaos Storm, I can win this fight. But they see it coming. Again, they had full vision of the roam from Nisqy. The stun comes out from Blanc. And then with the damage that they have from Pilot as well, it's a very easy kill. They get themselves a tier 2 in the bottom lane. Now their eyes are on that tier 1 in the top.
It just accelerates your team so much when you play around a Fed member like this. Look at the Ezreal, has already got that Mana Mune completed, looking towards the Mura Mana. He's got the Sheen as well. He's got so much.
And we talked about this series right at the start of the day being a 5-course meal. We talked about how we thought that it would go all the way to dessert. Well, it looks like Blanc, he's skipped the list and he's filling up on dessert right now.
That he is. Tiramisu.
I don't know what that is. In Wales, we have chocolate pudding, mate.
Chocolate pudding with some custard.
Custard, that sounds lovely, mate. Absolutely lovely.
Well, Blanc nomming down on these kills one by one. Amazing's on the menu. Blanc is dominating. 10 kills to 2. 6 of them on this Syndra. And you just have to think that Fnatic Academy right now will be saying to themselves, GG, go next.
I mean, it's certainly a rough deficit to be at.
They're 7,000 goals behind at 16 minutes.
Yeah, I know. I would definitely be considering what to do in my next game. I'm just looking at the options for Fnatic Academy, right? Like, what maybe could they do? Because many times, remember, like in game 1, we thought the game was pretty much done for PSG. Yep. Game 3, the game was pretty much done for PSG. And granted, they haven't yet had an advantage this big, this early on. Yeah. But there's always the possibility, right? And one thing that we've always seen from PSG is the overzealous plays that we've seen from Pilot. We've still been seeing in this series. While it's certainly been more reserved, it's not a complete possibility that has been ruled out. And it only takes one overstep, one misplay from PSG for Fnatic to get a kill here and there. Get Nisqy a little bit more items under his belt, and suddenly he has all the wave clear in the world to stall out the game. If they were able to get to 3 or 4 items, then maybe they have a possibility. Or
Nisqy's dead.
I mean, all right, I admit I'm looking at the bright side here a little bit, but
I actually think part of the cost here for Fnatic Academy is the fact that Nisqy isn't on a champion on which you can build an early Negatron cloak as easily.
I mean, he can.
Yeah, but you need the perfect hex core really for the wave clear before anything else. If it was any other mid laner, you could go back and get a Negatron cloak. Whereas Nisqy really needs that perfect hex core to be able to clear.
I disagree. I actually think the build path from Nisqy's not good, because he should have just taken 2 points in the upgraded hex core and then go into the early Megatron cloak.
I disagree with the sheep.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Like, if you're going to build anything, why would you build a sheep? Because now, like, this is a thing I love talking about. There are 2 build paths on Victor. You have the tower sieging, dueling Victor, which is the Lich Bane build, or you have the more team fighting orientated, which is very much built towards, in the past, around Rylai's, which don't really as much anymore. But it still stands true for Lich Bane. He's actually a great duelist because of the low cooldown that you have on Q, which means that normally the rotation is Q, auto, E, and then by the time you Q again, your Lich Bane is up again. So you have a lot of like 1v1 damage, even if your team fight damage suffers a little bit for it. But in what universe does he think he can 1v1 at this point in the game? He's gone for an early Leandris. Like, that is so effective when you're this fed because it does like flat magic penetration. Like, I don't think Nisqy has any magic resistance against Blanc. I'm just going to have a quick check. He's currently sitting on 34 MR. Blanc, right? He has
15 pen, so it's 20.
He has 30 magic pen.
Oh yeah, because of sorcerer shoes
So,
as well. 4 MR.
Niski has 4 MR.
Pretty strong, pretty strong. I want to come back to this though, because last game we were talking about the mental game and the mental fortitude of PSG to be able to get back into it, or whether they collapse under the pressure. Here, very strong game from them, in all honesty. White Knight's going to get caught a little bit, but should just be able to walk under the tower. Very strong game. This is sending a message to Fnatic Academy. And time again, we hear teams talk about Game 4 of a best of 5 and say how important it is. Because if you get into Game 5 on a loss, it can demoralize you a huge amount. If you get there on a win, it gives you that motivation to continue trying. Now, this is the sort of win that PSG will gain so much motivation out of.
But here we go. Let's see if Fnatic can find some kind of answer. Amazing coming in from the flank. They do have the Shen ultimate, but now PSG, they're just splitting all of Fnatic up. They feel like they don't have many answers right now.
The vision controls all for PSG, and Amazing is dead once again. Legendary Blanc swipes away that Rengar, and Blanc has been consistently one of the strongest players on PSG. He's played control majors, so he hasn't been this dominating in games, but even in their losses, he has had stellar performances.
But I was a little bit doubtful of the Syndra. I felt like that it was a bit of a gamble for PSG to actually bring this pick out, especially into a Shen, which mitigates a lot of the damage too. Like, you try to pick a target off, Shen ultimate immediately there, the Karma shields too. But when you get such a big advantage early on, and I don't like to harp on about it, but we do have to highlight that one decision from Amazing to just overstay in the mid lane and give Blanc not only the blue buff, but the extra kill, the extra experience. Like, that could have swung this lane so differently. 100%
agree. And you have to look back at that and say it was a costly mistake for Fnatic Academy, but PSG have been able to capitalize on it.
Superb.
They have done a superb job of it. Look at that, 4,500 gold ahead solely on the mid laner, and now that gold is starting to spread into the other lanes as well. 2,000 on your AD carry, 1,000 on your top laner, 2,000 on your jungler, even 2,000 on your support. This is when you start to see the impact a strong mid laner and a coordinated team can have.
Look at all those wars. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So much vision.
It's like they're trying to do some sort of ritual. Like, can we set them up in the pentagram around this area?
I mean, it just resulted in them getting themselves that 20-minute Baron. They wanted Fnatic Academy to walk through that half of the jungle and just be like, I dare you.
So much light for them here, Vedius.
So much light.
I'm glad that
a lot of people won't get that context, though.
I'm glad your experiment of calling Vision light died very quickly. I don't think it works.
What about
Vision?
It's so blasé. You know?
How is that blasé? They can now see an area they didn't used to be able to see.
Why don't we call them torches?
Like, they're not torches.
They have a lot of torches on the map.
There is no ward skin that even looks like a torch.
Hey, but there's a fist, right? There is a fist bump that provides vision.
That's the riot one, right? Come on.
It is.
I like the poros because it's like you actually have a little pair of eyes. Anyway, PSG continuing to push in towards the mid lane. They're trying to break open these inhibitors. It's the next step on the road to Game 5. Kyrie jumps in. Look at the damage onto him. A kill for Fnatic. Only their third of the game, but they have pushed PSG back.
This is the overzealous nature that we were talking about. PSG, they felt very confident. They didn't even wait for the minion wave. The fact that Kira ends up going down with his flash still available means that PSG, their push is going to be stymied for the time being. Syndra is now on his way back.
Yeah, but she's so far away. This is brave, in all honesty. You've got 3 members, you've got 3 Baron buffs, but there are still 5 members of Fnatic around here, and if PSG overstep, it's very easy for them to get caught out without their 8-0 mid lane.
Well, the push continues for PSG. The low range of Ezreal is making it difficult, but here comes the pick potential return once again.
Onto Kikis, he has to dance his way away with the Shadow Dash. PSG continue to push forward. The Void Rush follow there by our observers. Great job, guys. Keep it up. And now PSG will look to the inhibitor tower. Chip damage has worked its way on here, and that's going to be the inhibitor tower falling. Amazing knocked up, Amazing knocked down, and perhaps that is Fnatic being knocked out of this game. Pilots on a killing spree, the inhibitor will fall, and meanwhile Kyrie is getting the top lane set for another inhibitor tower.
We talked about the overstep, and then Amazing stays a little bit too long in the mid lane tower, giving PSG the numbers advantage, and perhaps enough to be able to close out this game.
14,000 gold, only 23 minutes in. This is the biggest gold lead I think we have seen in the Challenger Series. Never mind, just in this series alone. PSG will back with their Baron, and they will be very satisfied with how this game is going.
So let's have a look back at how this siege went down. PSG They wanted to take this tower. Fnatic Academy, they just backed away. Niski, I believe he uses his wave clear. No, he doesn't even use his E. Doesn't try to disengage. And Amazing just stays 2 step too close to the tower. It was like he tried to ask someone for a dance, and he got rejected so hard that he got knocked back to the Nexus.
Personal experience speaking there.
Yeah, all right. It was a tough time, man. Look, why wouldn't you just dance with me, okay?
Second grade. Oh, man. You know, if you ever asked me to dance, I would happily jive with you.
Jive? Is that your preferred dancing choice?
Hey, you got to get the feet out, the fast step.
I don't even know if that's a jive.
No, it's probably not.
I'm more of a waltz man. I love the slow,
you like the 1, 2, 3? Well, I like chaos. I like energy. And that is exactly what this game has brought us. PSG looking for that final inhibitor. Amazing. Looking for some bastion of hope. So last resort for Fnatic Academy. But all the resorts are fully booked. And it looks like this is going to be no holiday for Fnatic as PSG continue to put the pressure down.
Now PSG looking to equalize the game, bring us to that game 5. And here we are, the final push coming out from PSG. They have 2 inhibitors taken down in the top lane and in the mid lane. Well, the question is, will they make the same mistake that they made in game 3? Will they be too overconfident? Hasty is exactly what I was
master baggings. They might be too hasty. They're looking for that final inhibitor tower, but White is very tanky. Has those 3 items completed, or the Aegis of the Legion. Not quite a completed item, but looks like one, so I'm going to call it one anyway. This will be the tower going. The Nexus towers are being pounded on by super minions. PSG just need to continue to chip away. Fnatic getting chipped away on their health bars as well. Depth charge knocks up 2. Amazing is dead. Blank is legendary. And PSG can just continue to push in. Niski taken out through the Stand United, through the barrier, through it all. Blank continues to take down kills. The Nexus towers are falling.
The super minions acting as that 6th man for PSG as they look to equalize the series and bring us to a game 5.
It's gonna be game 5, NES, as PSG will take the Nexus. 26 minutes. 14,000 gold, 15 kills to 3, and it's gonna be 2-2.